The sound of shattering glass echoed through the towering corporate headquarters just as terrified employees began running toward the emergency exits. Smoke drifted through the bright atrium, alarms screamed without mercy, and panic spread faster than the fire itself. On the marble staircase leading toward the lobby, one woman in an elegant black dress collapsed to the floor, clutching her injured leg. Her voice was barely louder than a whisper, but it carried the weight of complete surrender. She looked at the stranger trying to help her and silently begged him to save himself. "Leave me. I can't walk." Everyone else rushed past without stopping, believing every second meant the difference between life and death. But one exhausted single father made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness still exists in this world and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to our channel. Spread love daily. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories that remind us humanity is never truly lost. The stranger was 38-year-old Elias Mercer, a widowed father who worked as an overnight maintenance technician for a cleaning contractor. Every sunrise marked the end of another exhausting shift before he hurried home to prepare breakfast for his 8-year-old son, Rowan. Life had never been gentle with Elias. After losing his wife to illness 5 years earlier, he had buried his own dreams to make sure his son never went to bed feeling unloved. Every dollar mattered. Every hour mattered. Yet despite carrying invisible burdens every day, Elias never allowed bitterness to take root inside him. He believed that even if life had forgotten to be kind to him, he would never stop being kind to others. That morning, Elias had been repairing electrical panels on the upper floors of the prestigious Falcon Heights corporate center when a sudden mechanical explosion shook the building. Emergency alarms immediately filled every hallway. People abandoned meetings, dropped expensive laptops, and sprinted toward the exits without looking back. Security guards shouted instructions while smoke slowly crept through the ventilation system. During the confusion, Elias noticed someone lying halfway down the central staircase. The woman was Vivian Ashcroft, the celebrated CEO of Ashcroft Dynamics, one of the country's fastest-growing technology companies. She was known across business magazines as fearless, demanding, and almost impossible to impress. Thousands admired her success, but very few actually knew the lonely woman hidden beneath the headlines. As employees rushed past her in panic, Vivian had twisted her ankle while trying to help one of her assistants. The fall had severely injured her leg. She struggled to stand, but the pain forced her back onto the cold marble floor. Elias reached her just as another wave of frightened people pushed through the staircase. Vivian's face showed both pain and acceptance. She believed she would only slow him down. She quietly urged him to leave before the situation became even more dangerous. Instead of running, Elias calmly removed his heavy work jacket and placed it beneath her shoulders to shield her from the cold stone floor. Without asking who she was or what she could offer him, he carefully lifted her onto his back. She protested with tears forming in her eyes, but Elias only tightened his grip and began climbing down the crowded emergency stairs. Each step became harder than the last. Smoke thickened around them. Emergency lights flickered. Several frightened employees squeezed past without offering help. Vivian could feel Elias struggling to breathe beneath her weight, yet he never once suggested putting her down. Every few flights of stairs he paused only long enough to catch his breath before continuing again. Sweat soaked through his shirt while his knees trembled from exhaustion. Unknown to Elias, hidden security cameras captured every moment. Outside the building, firefighters finally reached them just as Elias stumbled through the entrance carrying Vivian safely into the fresh morning air. The second his feet touched the sidewalk, his strength disappeared. He gently lowered her onto a stretcher before collapsing onto the pavement himself. Paramedics rushed toward both of them. News crews covering the emergency quickly noticed the incredible scene. Reporters assumed Elias was part of Vivian's executive protection team. When they learned he was simply a maintenance worker, disbelief spread across the crowd. Vivian remained in the hospital for several days recovering from torn ligaments and minor injuries. Elias returned to work the very next evening without mentioning what had happened. To him, helping another human being required no reward and no recognition. A week later, Elias was called unexpectedly into his supervisor's office. Instead of another maintenance assignment, he found a luxury black sedan waiting outside. Completely confused, he stepped inside. The vehicle quietly drove him to Ashcroft Dynamics headquarters. He worried someone had blamed him for the accident. Instead, he entered the executive boardroom where dozens of company directors stood waiting. At the far end of the room sat Vivian. She had recovered enough to walk with the assistance of a cane. The moment Elias entered, every executive rose to their feet. Vivian slowly approached him before thanking him in front of everyone present. She explained that during years of building a billion-dollar company, she had learned how easily success could hide selfishness. Hundreds of people had passed her that day. Some knew exactly who she was. Others recognized her face from television. Yet almost no one stopped. Only one stranger had chosen compassion over fear. Vivian had reviewed the emergency footage countless times. She watched Elias repeatedly risk his own safety for someone he believed would never repay him. For the first time in years, she admitted she had forgotten what true leadership actually looked like. She announced that Ashcroft Dynamics would establish a new employee assistance foundation dedicated to supporting struggling single parents and low-income workers. The foundation would be named after Elias, not because he wanted attention, but because she wanted every employee to remember that character mattered more than titles. Elias stood speechless. He had never imagined his simple act of kindness could inspire such change. But Vivian's greatest surprise had not yet come. She quietly handed Elias an envelope. Inside was an offer unlike anything he had ever expected. It wasn't money. It wasn't charity. It was a full-time position overseeing the company's community outreach and employee welfare programs. Vivian explained that technical skills could always be taught, but integrity could not. She wanted someone who understood struggle to help shape a workplace built on compassion instead of fear. At first, Elias hesitated. He had spent years believing men like him belonged in the background while successful people made important decisions. Vivian gently reminded him that true leaders were defined by their hearts, not their resumes. After discussing the opportunity with Rowan that evening, Elias accepted. The transition wasn't easy. Board members questioned whether a maintenance worker belonged in executive meetings. Some quietly doubted his abilities. Others expected him to fail. Instead, Elias listened more than he spoke. He visited employees working late-night shifts. He met janitors, cafeteria workers, security officers, receptionists, and interns. He remembered every name. He asked about their families. He found practical solutions to problems executives had ignored for years. Slowly, workplace morale transformed. Employee turnover dropped dramatically. Productivity improved naturally because people finally felt valued. Months later, Ashcroft Dynamics received national recognition as one of the country's most compassionate employers. Journalists praised Vivian's leadership. She smiled every time, knowing the real lesson had come from someone wearing dusty work boots instead of expensive leather shoes. One quiet Saturday morning, Elias and Rowan visited a community playground funded by the new foundation. Children laughed together while struggling parents enjoyed a rare moment of peace. Vivian quietly joined them without cameras or reporters. Watching Rowan race across the playground reminded her that success was never measured by office size or stock prices. It was measured by the lives changed through simple acts of courage. Sometimes the strongest people are not those with wealth or influence. Sometimes they are ordinary fathers carrying invisible burdens while still finding enough strength to carry someone else. That unforgettable morning inside the burning building began with a woman believing she had been left behind. It ended with an entire company discovering that the greatest leaders are often the people nobody notices. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, and subscribe to Spread Love Daily. Your support helps these messages of hope reach people who may need them most today. Speech balloon special request: before you leave, comment below, kindness always finds a way. We'd love to know where you're watching from and whether you believe one act of compassion can truly change a life. The world often celebrates power, money, and success, but history is quietly shaped by ordinary people who choose compassion when everyone else chooses convenience. Elias never expected recognition. He simply refused to abandon someone in need. And because of that single decision, one frightened whisper became the beginning of countless new hopes, proving that even in the darkest moments, one brave heart can light the path for everyone else.